Good day, everyone! Our topic for today is all about cultural integrity. Ngayon, pag-usapan natin ang cultural integrity, isang konsepto na mahalaga hindi lamang sa ating bansa, kundi sa buong mundo. Ano nga ba ang cultural integrity? Simpleng sabihin, ito ay ang pagpapanatili ng sariling kultura, tradisyon at pagkakakilanlan ng sariling grupo ng tao. Parang pag-aalaga sa isang halaman, kailangan natin ito bigyan ng sapat na pagmamahal at proteksyon para lumago at umunlad ito. Bakit mahalaga ang cultural integrity? Una, pagkakaisa at pagkakaunawaan. Kapag nirerespeto natin ang kultura ng bawat isa, mas nagkakaunawaan tayo at nababawasan ang mga hidwaan. Pangalawa, pagpapayaman ng kultura. Ang pagkakaiba ng kultura ay nagpapayaman sa ating mundo. Kapag nawala ang kultura ng isang grupo, nawawala rin ang isang bahagi ng ating kasaysayan at pagka-Pilipino. At panghuli, pagpapahalaga sa sarili. Kapag mayroon tayong malakas na cultural identity, mas nagkakaroon tayo ng tiwala sa sarili at mas nagiging bukas tayo sa iba't ibang kultura. Section 29, Protection of Indigenous Culture, Traditions, and Institutions. The state shall respect, recognize, and protect the right of ICs, IPs to preserve and protect their culture, traditions, and institutions. It shall consider these rights in the formulation and application of national plans and policies. Section 29 ng Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997, Republic Act 8371, ay nagsasaad ng responsibilidad ng Estado na igalang, kilalanin at protektahan ang karapatan ng mga indigenous cultures, communities, indigenous peoples, or ICs or IPs, na pangalagaan at panatilihin ang kanilang kultura, tradisyon at institusyon. Sa madaling salita, dapat nirerespeto ng gobyerno ang mga katutubong grupo at ang kanilang mga paraan ng pamumuhay. Dapat silang bigyan ng kalayaan na maging tagapagmana at tagapagtaguyod ng kanilang sariling kultura. Kagaya na lamang ng paggalang sa karapatan, ang Estado ay may obligasyon na respetuhin ang mga karapatan ng mga ICs and IPs. Ibig sabihin, dapat nilang tanggapin at pahalagahan ang mga paniniwala, kaugalian at paraan ng pamumuhay ng mga katutubo. Ang Seksyon 29 ay isang mahalagang hakbang na pagkilala at pagrespeto sa mga karapatan ng mga ICs at RPs. Ito ay nagpapakita ng pangako ng Estado na suportahan ang pagpapanatili ng kanilang cultural integrity. Section 30, Educational Systems. The state shall provide equal access to various cultural opportunities to the ICs, IPs, through the educational system, public or private cultural entities, scholarships, grants, and other incentives without prejudice to their right to establish and control their educational systems and institutions by providing education in their own language, in a manner appropriate to their cultural methods of teaching and learning. Indigenous children, youth, shall have the right to all levels and forms of education of the state. Ang Section 30 naman ay tumutukoy sa karapatan ng mga ICs, IPs sa edukasyon. So dapat magbigay ang Estado ng pantay na pagkakataon sa iba't ibang kultural na oportunidad sa mga ICs and IPs. Kagaya ng binasa ko kanina, like entidad na scholarship, grant at iba pang insentibo. Pero mahalaga rin na hindi maaapektuhan ang karapatan ng mga ICs, IPs na magtatag at kontrolin ang kanilang sariling sistema at institusyon ng edukasyon. Ang edukasyon ay dapat na ibigay sa kanilang sariling wika, sa paraang angkop sa kanilang mga kultural na pamamaraan ng pagtuturo at pag-aaral. Ang layunin ng Section 30 ay tiyakin na ang mga katutubong bata at kabataan ay may akses sa lahat ng antas at uri ng edukasyon at estado. Dapat isama ang kanilang kultura sa kurikulum at dapat silang bigyan ng pagkakataon na matuto sa kanilang sariling wika at kultura. Dapat ang pagpapakilala sa kahalagahan ng kultura. Iyon ang pinakamahalaga. So, Republic Act 8371 ay nagpapakita ng malinaw na pagkilala sa estado ng kahalagahan ng kultura ng mga ICs, IPs. Ang mga probisyon nito ay naglalayong protektahan at itaguyod ang kanilang karapatan na mapanatili ang kanilang sariling pagkakakilanlan. Ang pagpapatupad ng probisyon na ito ay mahalaga para sa pag-unlad ng mga ICs, IPs at pagkakakilanlan. Ang mga ICs, IPs ay may mahalagang papel sa pagpapayaman ng kultura ng Pilipinas at ang kanilang mga karapatan ay dapat na maging prioridad ng Estado.
Section 31. Recognition of Cultural Diversity. The state shall endeavor to have the dignity and diversity of the cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations of the ICCs or IPs appropriately reflected in all forms of education, public information, and cultural educational exchange. Consequently, the state shall take effective measures in consultation with ICCs or IPs concerned to eliminate prejudice and discrimination and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among ICCs or IPs and all segments of society. Furthermore, the government shall take effective measures to ensure that state-owned media duly reflect indigenous cultural diversity. The state shall likewise ensure the participation of appropriate indigenous leaders in schools, communities, and international cooperative undertakings like festivals, conferences, seminars, and workshops to promote and enhance their distinctive heritage and values. So, this section underscores the state's commitment to recognizing and respecting the cultural diversity of indigenous cultural communities or ICCs and indigenous people or IPs. It ensures that their dignity, traditions, histories, and aspirations are appropriately reflected in education, media, and cultural exchanges. And also, the government aims to eliminate prejudice and discrimination, promoting tolerance, understanding, and good relations between indigenous and non-indigenous groups. State-owned media are required to also showcase indigenous cultural diversity, while indigenous leaders are encouraged to actively participate in schools, communities, and international events to share and preserve their unique heritage and values. Section 32, Community Intellectual Rights. ICCs or IPs have the right to practice and revitalize their own cultural traditions and customs. The state shall present, protect, and develop the past, present, and future manifestations of their cultures as well as the right to the restitution of cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual property taken without their free and prior informed consent or in violation of their laws, traditions, and customs. So this section affirms the rights of indigenous cultural communities or ICCs and indigenous people or IPs to preserve, practice, and revitalize their cultural traditions and customs. It is also emphasizes the state's duty to protect and develop all aspects of indigenous cultures, past, present, and future, ensuring their continuity and integrity. Furthermore, it recognizes the ICC's or IP's right to reclaim cultural, intellectual, religious, and spiritual properties that were taken without their consent or in violation of their laws, traditions, and customs that can safeguard their heritage from exploitation or loss.
Rights to religious, cultural sites and ceremonies. ICCs or IPs shall have the right to manifest, practice, develop, and teach their spiritual and religious traditions, customs, and ceremonies. The right to maintain, protect, and have access to the religious and cultural sites, the right to use and control of ceremonial objects, and the right to the repatriation of human remains. Accordingly, the state shall take effective measures in cooperation with the ICCs or IPs concerned to ensure that indigenous sacred places, including burial sites, be preserved, respected, and protected. To achieve this purpose, it shall be unlawful to a. Explore, excavate, or make diggings on archaeological sites of the ICCs or IPs of the purpose of obtaining materials or of cultural values without the free and prior informed consent of the community concerned, and b. Deface, remove, or otherwise destroy the artifacts which are of great importance to the ICCs or IPs for the preservation of their cultural heritage. So, this precept of laws protect the rights of indigenous people to practice their traditions, protect their sacred sites, and control their ceremonial objects. It is also makes it illegal to excavate or destroy these sites and artifacts without their consent, ensuring indigenous communities have a say in how their cultural heritage is managed. This law is important for recognizing and safeguarding the cultural sites of indigenous peoples and promoting respectful interaction between indigenous communities and the state. The law reflects a growing understanding of the importance of indigenous rights and the need to protect their cultural heritage. It acknowledges that indigenous cultures are not static but are dynamic and evolving, and that indigenous peoples have the right to determine how their cultures are preserved and practiced. The law also has implications for the development of sustainable tourism and cultural heritage management. It emphasizes the need for collaboration between indigenous communities and the state to ensure that tourism activities are respectful of indigenous cultural values and that indigenous people benefit from tourism development.
Okay. Section 34. Right to indigenous knowledge, systems, and practices and to develop own sciences and technologies. ICCs or IPS are entitled to the recognition of the full ownership of and control and protection of their cultural and intellectual rights. They shall have right to special measures to control, develop, and protect their sciences, technologies, and cultural manifestations, including human and other genetic resources, seeds, including derivatives of these resources, traditional medicine and heart practices, vital medicine plants, animal and minerals, indigenous knowledge systems and practices, knowledge of the properties of fauna and flora, oral tradition, literature, designs, and visual performing arts, genetic resources, seeds, and traditional medicines. Resource ownership. Indigenous communities have the right to own, control, and protect their genetic resources, seeds, and traditional medicines. Sustainable use. They must be able to use, develop, and benefit from these resources in accordance with their traditional practices and customary laws. Safeguarding measures should be taken to prevent the unauthorized access, use, or commercializations of these resources without their free, prior, and informed consent. Towards a future shared knowledge and sustainable development. Respect. Recognizing and respecting their inherent rights of the indigenous peoples over the knowledge, practices, and resources. Preservation, safeguarding, and revitalizing indigenous knowledge systems to ensure the continued transmission and application. Collaboration, fostering meaningful partnerships between indigenous communities and scientific institutions for mutual benefits and sustainable development. Empowerment, empowering indigenous peoples to actively participate in decision-making processes that affect their knowledge, lands, and resources. Collaboration between indigenous communities and scientific institutions. Mutual understanding, bridging the gap between traditional indigenous knowledge and Western scientific frameworks through open dialogue and cross-cultural exchange. Collaborative Collaborative research, jointly developing research agendas and methodologies that respect the rights and knowledge system of indigenous communities. Benefit sharing, ensuring that indigenous peoples receive fair and equitable benefits from the use of their knowledge and resources in collaborative initiatives.
This section of law is about protecting the rights of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples over their ancestral lands and the resources found there. It basically says that anyone who wants to use the plants, animals, or genetic material from these lands or the traditional knowledge about how to use them needs to get permission from the community first. Biological and genetic resources. This refers to things like plants, animals, and unique genetic makeup of this organism. Indigenous knowledge. This means the traditional knowledge, practices, and innovations that ICCS or IPs have developed over generations about how to use and manage these resources. Free and prior informed consent. This means that ICCS or IPs have the right to decide whether or not to allow others to access their resources and knowledge. They must given all the necessary information about the proposed use and be free to say yes or no without being pressured. Ancestral lands and domains. This refers to the lands and territories and ICCS or IPs have traditional owned and managed. Customary laws. These are the traditional laws and practices of the ICCs or IPs that govern how they use and manage the resources. Any permission granted must be in line with these laws. For example, imagine a pharmaceutical company wants to study a rare plant found in the ancestral lands of a specific indigenous community. Before they can collect samples or research the plant, they need to first conduct the community. The community needs to reach out to the community leaders and explain their research projects in a way that everyone understands. Second, provide information. They must provide detailed information about the research, including how they plan to use the plant, what benefits they expect, and how they will share those benefits with the community. Third, obtain consent. The community must be given the opportunity to discuss the proposal and decide whether or not to grant permission. If they agree, the community must follow the community's customary laws and practices for accessing the plant. Why is it important? It is important because this law recognizes that ICCs or IPs have a deep connection to their lands and resources, and that they have the right to control how these resources are used. It helps to prevent the exploitation of indigenous knowledge and resources, and ensures that communities benefit from any commercial use of their resources.
So, this time I will tackle, or the assigned topic that I will tackle is Section 36, Sustainable Agro-Technical Development. So, the state shall recognize the right of ICCS or IPS to a sustainable agro-technological development, and shall formulate and implement programs of action for its effective implementation. The state shall likewise promote the big genetic and resource management systems among the ICCS or IPS, shall encourage cooperation among government agencies to ensure the successful sustainable development of ICCS or IPS. So, sustainable technological development, it is refers to the development and use of agricultural technologies and practices that are environmentally friendly, economically visible, and socially just, or it aims to ensure that agricultural activities can continue um, indef- infin- indefinitely without depleting natural resources or harming the environment. So, ICCOs or IPS, these are communities and individuals who have distinct cultural traditions, languages, and social structures that have been passed down through generations. So, they often have deep knowledge and practices related to sustainable agriculture and resource management. So, resource management or systems agricultures. So, responsibilities of the state must acknowledge and uphold the right of ICCS or IPS to develop their own sustainable agricultural practices, or this means respecting their traditional knowledge and ensuring they have a say in how agricultural technologies are implemented. Also, it's obligated to create and carry out specific programs that support sustainable agro-technological development for ICCS or IPS. So this program should be designed with the participation and address their unique needs and priorities. So, the importance of this section of law is crucial for promoting the well-being of ICCS or um, IPS and IPS and ensuring their continued access to food security and livelihoods. By supporting sustainable agro-technological development, the state can help ICCS or IPS. So first, improve food security, increase food production and access to nutritious food. Second, protect the environment, promote sustainable agriculture practices that minimize environmental impact. And last, the overall conclusion. So, this section of law highlights the importance of recognizing the rights of ICCS or IPS to sustainable agro-technological development. It underscores the state's responsibility to support their efforts to improve food security, protect the environment, protect the environment, and preserve their cultural heritage. By working collaboratively with ICCS or IPS, the state can ensure that agricultural development in their territories is both sustainable and cultural appropriate. That's all. Thank you.